when we do the talks, when we do the live talks, we tend not to want to have many questions because really you want to sort of starve the questioner so that it finds out it's the answer, yeah? You get the little logic. There's a logic behind it, yeah. Because I used to go to talks, and as soon as this question and answer period started, it would turn usually into relationship questions, and then the horse was out of the barn, and it was tough to put the horse back into the barn, which is fine and dandy in the right setting, but for me, non-duality is
For me, non-duality is not exactly. Non-duality is not for me. It's not for you. It's not for anybody. See the speech regarding Neo-Advaitins presentations such as these satsangs, so-called satsangs, are set up, not purposely, but they're set up, which is seemingly set up with intent. Now, the average self-conjured self is going to witness these presentations and will begin to formulate what are believed to be their own opinions. Now, the self-conjured self doesn't realize it's formulating opinions that don't really matter, but they still matter to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which we're not. That which we're not is the appearance taken as though the appearance of a body-mind is singled out and it's separate from every other body, every other human corporeal action figure or local qualia consciousness energy form, manifestation that's temporally temporary. It is simply an appearance. Now, the appearance, as though there are appearances of separate things, is simply Brahman, is simply the Absolute. Everything and no thing is inseparably so and not so. Now we say it's inseparably so in a manner by which everything is tethered, everything is combined, everything is together, everything is uniform, it's whole, it's complete. It's already done, it's perfect, it's set up, always has been set up, always will be set up. It is not knowable knowledge to know how it was set up. And if there's a meaning, reason, and purpose behind how and why it was set up. But if a meaning, reason, or a purpose is conjured, then it's simply conjured via a self-conjured self that self-identifies with a body-mind that it believes it's of its own, that it owns, has, possesses its very own body and mind to use as it so wishes, as it so pleases. It believes this simply because it believes that it is independently so, that it is separate, and it is solid, and it's permanent. Although it's changing, it has reasons of its own accord and volition, with its own understanding, to say that, well, I know the way I am. I know why I'm the way that I am. And that I believe that people in general should try to strive to be better than what they are, because there's always room for improvement. You hear that type of speech. The body minds that hear that type of speech begin to not independently think of on their own. There are simply thoughts that are apprehended. Minds apprehend thoughts. The thoughts, how are they generated? Where are they coming from? They're not coming from anywhere. And they're not an appearance. Notice that, obviously. A thought is not an appearance. A thought, an idea, a concept is a seemingly exclusively separate or separately unique form of energy, or as though it's a transmission, or it's an electromagnetic impulse of some type that has information in it. And that information is always in formation. It's always forming into some type of formation. And the formations are innumerable, the manner by which manifestations of formations appear. And these appearances, behind these appearances, are energy fields. And these energy fields apparently appear to be operating upon a particular frequency. And when we say frequencies, we're referring to electromagnetic impulses, and that these impulses carry information, and that information that's carried, so to speak, it travels, it seemingly travels, and it travels throughout what is referred to, of course, there's the consciousness, and then there's the consciousness that's used via the mind of a body mind to access. And then when it accesses that consciousness, it appears as though it's a collective consciousness. When we refer to collective, the collective is the whole. And then there's the appearance as though there are separate components that comprise the whole, which could be referred to whilst we're speaking of such things. And these things that we speak of are concepts, ideas, and then they're thought to be turned into teachings, and that these teachings began when conversations were had, or conversations with the very first satsangs that were held in India and in the surrounding area, going back thousands of years, with this story of Earth. That's the conundrum. That's the extraordinariness of what apparently appears to be a reality. But it's not a separate reality that each body mind is experiencing. It seems to be that way, seemingly so. Seems to be as though the I that's formed with the self-identification, and that self-conjured self is that I. It's an energy field that believes it has a life of its very own, when there is just simply life. But it believes to conjure these beliefs. These beliefs that are conjured based on an agreement of ideas and concepts, whereby there's going to be a societal structure. And in society is where I belong. All the other I's as well. All the other people. You and me as people. And when we refer to people and we're speaking with this English language, and languages are doing what? They're telling stories, aren't they? And there are innumerable stories to tell, and there always will be innumerable ones. Because there are commonly held beliefs that are held via what is apparently appeared to be a collective consciousness, or a shared reality. And this shared reality apparently appears as though it has always been this way. To take the language and conjure explanations. Why? Why is this happening? Why does this apparently appear to be going on? This apparently appears to be happening whereby I have learned that I am part of a society. And I can witness that by observing other body minds behaving in that way. But I've always referred to these other body minds as other individual people. Because in that way of thinking, was I thinking? Did I supplant those thoughts in my own head? And by the way, is that my own head to supplant thoughts upon? See, there's a self-inquiry. And when that self-inquiry is examined, then there is the collapsing or the falling away of what has been conjured for a certain indeterminate duration. A certain indeterminate duration in space and time, although we, as I say, when I say we, we're all energy fields, we're part of Brahman, we're part of the Absolute. But when we refer to as we, referring to the energy forms that are appearing humanly corporeal. Okay, the energy forms that are appearing humanly corporeal are simply energy manifestations and forms of various frequencies of energy fields. And energy fields are comprised of that which appears as though it's a single living entity that's animating a manifestation, emanating these visual fields. And these visual fields are part of what? It's part of a manifestation that is manifesting based on the energy field. The energy field is not purposely manifesting these various appearances. It's simply the manner by which the energy is appearing. Now, the manner by which the energy is appearing, it's referred to. There's reference. This is why it is all conjured. All body-mind action figures eventually admit and confess and say, yes, it has always been this way. I could not see that because I conjured this idea that I am a single individual, terminally unique and special being. A very, very special human being. And with those ideas of specialty and various degrees of a specialty that's believed to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which we're not, which is the conjured self that's conjured. The conjured self is likened to taking yourself to be the character in a story. So how did this come about this way? It never did come about any particular way, but the manner by which these ways are described are innumerable. Innumerable stories, because there appear to be innumerable manifestations. But not of a particular countenance. Each moment, not of a particular permanent, regular countenance that could be counted and say, okay, there's 8 billion now. Oh, wait a minute, there's 7,999,990. It's not to be perceived that way. But the perception that is conjured, the perceptions that are conjured, and there are many perceptions that can be perceived, but what is perceiving these perceptions of what is conjured? All of these conjurings must have had a beginning of some type. That's the conundrum. Nobody can ever know how it all turned out the way that it apparently appears to have turned out. But you know what? It's not really, everything is not turning out a particular way. It is thought to be. conjured as though something is going on. Something's happening. You know, it feels as though something's happening to me. See, there's the idea of terminal uniqueness, self-identification with self. The conjured self. That's what the conjured self is. It's a fictitious character that's been appearing. Now, it's been appearing in a particular way because the energy that is taken and then it's defined using a language. Well, all these applications are added. There's a very unique blend of these ideas that are put together in such a way that seemingly makes sense. There's not supposed to be, there's not supposed to be or should be. There should be or should not be anything going on happening in particular because there are no isolated singled out events that are going on separately throughout what appears to be a type of a reality, some type of reality. And when examined exhaustively, a reality, all these ideas and concepts and thoughts are conjured. The body-mind action figure cannot seem to help itself, or it seems to believe that I can't help the way I am. You may have heard these expressions. Now, this body-mind, when I say I can only, this body-mind action figure is calling itself an I because it believes that it is a separate I, but it's not. It's both. It's appearing as though it's separate, but it's blended with everything else around it, these appearances. And the edge of a shoulder is not where it begins or ends. 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which believes it is a separate body of its own. Body mind, it's not. There are no edges. See, if this action figure were to say I, and it will use these words, this action figure is going to express that way. This action figure is going to say me. It's going to continue to say that. However, once it is recognized behind the scenes, when we say behind the scenes, over the heads of these appearances of body-mind action figures. That's what it means when, well, see, the meanings that have been conjured. So we're referring to duality. All these dualities were summoned, in a sense. Summoning, conjuring, very similar. It's not the summoned self, but it does believe that it could summon separate things that it believes that it sees, it witnesses, it perceives. Getting back to that perceptions. There are no separate perceivers separately perceiving a perception at any given moment in space and time. Now, in time, it may appear to be this way. This is just simply a story of life. 2x4 from, upon, with, 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which believes it is living its own life and it has a story to tell. There's nothing right or wrong about it. There's nothing right or has to be done about 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which apparently appears to be separate. It had taken itself to seemingly be a separate living entity because it learned it. And what are learnings? In a sense, learnings are the same as conjuring, summonings. It began to summon what it believed to be its own idea, thoughts, original, though. It believes that it is the original and unique separate entity that matters. And just as all the other body-mind action figures that a human corporeal action figure would refer to. So these relationships, that which is seemingly relative, it's not relatively permanent. It is impermanent. If we go back to traditions and so-called teachings of the Upanishads and the Gitas, they refer to impermanence as Maya. But the Neo-Advaitin takes all of these so-called teachings, they're just simply factual information, and it was taken from a different language other than a much older language in English. English is, although it's conjured, it is simply believed to be the form of communication used to take information and formulate it into a particular formation or a combination of ideas and thoughts as they could be apprehended via a body mind, and the body mind could begin to express. Now, these human corporeal body minds that are expressing as they do are expressing on behalf. On behalf of what? Of what we truly are, which happens to be an energy field. Now, an energy field apparently appears to be separate, but it's just an apparent appearance. Just an appearance. It's not solidified, it's not solid. The experience as though this body-mind action figure is solid, that experience, those are conjured. It has even been recognized and read in the Gitas and the Upanishads when it refers to the impermanence of Maya, and then it refers to the self and then self-inquiry. Although self cannot get out of self, and although there is no self, there only apparently appears to be a self. Now, that's part of another story as well. So all these spiritual teachings, so-called spiritual teachings, and all these religions and traditions that have been held 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after that which believes it has been separate, and then it's joined groups and it's had these beliefs, it's conjured them all. That's not what we truly are. What are we? Well, first of all, it should be recognized there is Brahma. Okay, that's the absolute. Atman. There's different terms. There's some Sanskrit terms that have been used for thousands of years, and now there's these English terms that the Neo-Advaitins coming up with. When we refer to Neo-Advaitin, do we have to categorize everything that we talk about? But of course, how else is it going to be explained? The explanations of these expressions is the manner by which these human corporeal forms, you can call them that or what else, they're recognized as human corporeal forms. And this body-mind action figure recognizes, although it's speaking a language, it's simply expressing that language based on what? What has been conjured. Now, what else is there to use, or what else is there to take? And when I say take, you take these ideas and concepts and express them through a language. And all of these expressions, they don't have absolutely no meaning, reason, purpose, other than the meaning, reason, purpose that is given to these originators of stories, these narrators of stories. And they publish their stories. They could either publish them or keep them to themselves or narrate them, put them into a book and publish that, and then share the book, whereby a body mind can take the book and say, okay, this is interesting, I'm going to read about this now, because I believe it's something that I can do, because I believe in doings, because I don't know what else to do. And sometimes I think I need to be doing something. In fact, I believe that I should be doing something at all times. And these doings that I believe that I need to do are things that need to be done. How else will they get done? And who's going to do these doings? What are these doings, these actions that are taken? Apparently appear to be actions. There's nothing either right or wrong about them, but they can be examined in so many different ways. Which is why there's the beauty, the beatitudes, the beauty of the complexity and variance, the innumerable variances of appearances. That alone is extraordinary. It's really extraordinary, the manner by which there are innumerable appearances of things. And these things that are appearing, they seem as though they're appearing 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after that which takes those appearances and turns them into a story. And then it starts believing, oh, this must be why I'm here. It begins to conjure more conjurings, more conjurings. That's what it's all about. The conjure itself's all about conjurings. It doesn't know what else to do. It just appears as though it's a habitual action that it will always take, that it believes it is taking. See, that's the extraordinary thing. The human corporeal body, mind, action figure can say collectively that, okay, in agreement. Because it is still just an agreement that there exists a societal structure around us. And then when we refer to us, it is as though there's a collection of exclusive Neo-Advaitins or exclusive body minds that can call themselves Neo-Advaitins. They're all just stories. They're neither good or bad. They're neither right or wrong. They just apparently appear to be what happens. Or what apparently appears to be happening. Now, here's the very, very... it's so complexified. The infinitudinal complexification of innumerable manifestations. Innumerable. There are no exclusive ones. There are no exclusive appearances. They can appear as though they're exclusive, but they're just appearances. Are these appearances of things around us that we refer to and define and categorize a name? Is there something to that? Is there any meaning, reason, or purpose for everything to appear as though it's something? No. And yet, a body, mind, action figure can apply what is believed to be its own way of apprehending or of expressing within what it believes to be a shared reality. It believes this is a shared reality, but also at the same time, my reality. I have my reality that I apply to the reality that's shared. And how do I do that? I apply that by expressing via a language of some type. And then I believe to think that I need to be doing that. And that is a doing. So the expression is mistakenly taken to be a doing when it's just being, really. So a human being is just being human. Or a human being can express spiritually. But what is its inherent nature? Its inherent nature is with the Absolute, with Brahman. And that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate of what is, the isnessing of what is and is not. Not just is, but also and. Also is not. Is and is not. We are not. In this world appearing, but not of it. Not 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after. That which appears as though it's a separate reality that I'm living. Am I living my own life? And are you living your own life? Not really. See, that's where it began to develop. Did it develop on purpose? No. It just simply appeared to be what happened. Did it happen so that one day in the future that this particular body mind is going to say, oh, you know what? I know that I lived a past life because I can recall it, I can remember it. Now, the past life that I lived was a life that was 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after that which I thought and it took to be my own unique personal self. And that is the conjured self. But that wasn't believed to be conjured whilst it thought it was conjuring. Now, it didn't think to itself, right now, this very moment, I'm going to conjure improvements about myself, for myself, to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after myself. I'm going to conjure them because I believe, see, there's the beliefs again, I believe that I can improve myself and become a better version of what I think that I am. Now, when I think what I am, does it matter? 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after that which apparently appears to be another individual person. Does it matter to you? Well, it matters to me. Should it matter to you? Not necessarily. It shouldn't. But if it does, then you're my friend. Okay? So then you understand where I'm coming from. If I'm expressing and sharing these ideas with you right now, you're going to interpret them a particular way, aren't you? But are you separately interpreting them? There's the mix. You see, absolutely everything that's separately so and not so, the absolute Brahman, it's absolutely anything that's even conjured as well. So whatever's being conjured, 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after the self-conjured self, whatever's conjured is also part of it. It's with it too. It's also with it. Even if it has yet to collapse. And the collapsing doesn't stop. It never ends. Because there is no end and there is no beginning. It's just always a continuous flow of energy. Continuing. It has always been the way that it apparently appears. It always will be this way. And that's just a period in time. This was just referring to a very broad, well, not broad, let's say broad's like that, but a very narrow band of appearances. These appearances that are appearing upon what's been referred to as a band. Okay, you can also take radio bands like AM band, the wavelengths, and we start getting into the sciences that way. An understanding of the science is just as it goes hand in hand, and it's congruent with beingness. The science of self-realization, the science of beingness, there is a science to it. And since language has been conjured, well, they're going to be used. And are they going to be used to 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after an advantage? Or is there some type of advantageous advantage that a particular body mind can apprehend and say, I have the advantage, I have the upper edge, I'm coming up with theories that nobody else has, and I'm going to patent that. Because I'm going to say that it's my own original idea, I came up with it, I conjured it, and now it needs to be shared with what I believe is a shared reality, because I learned that. I didn't conjure it of my own. Some other body mind action figure conjured that. that believed it was part of a society, and it still believes that it is. This body-mind action figure is going to go on believing that. Yeah. The thing of it is, now, once it is recognized, there is no separation of absolutely nothing. Nothing's separate. No, there isn't anything that stands alone of its own accord and volition and of its own appearances. It's not doing that of its own accord and volition. Nobody is doing anything about nothing. There isn't anything to do. But is being doing? Do I have to be a particular way? No. Do you have to try? No. Is there any effort involved? No. Then that's it. That's it, right? I don't have to do anything anymore then. No. That's not it either. You neither have to do or you don't have to do or not to do. You can do or you cannot do. But neither doesn't even matter. If you don't do anything, when you're sitting down, you think you're sitting still, that's still a doing. And even if a body-mind action figure decides not to make a choice, it has still made one. And what choice did it make? It made a choice of not making a choice. That's what it did. So you see, these are all innumerable. So does it really matter that a body-mind action figure has a story to tell and it's going to publish books and it wants to sell them? You want to say sales, the economy. I have a book here, you're going to give me a certain amount of money, and then I'm going to buy something else with that money, perhaps. I might. So, does the conjured self ever have to go away? Does it have to die? Or will it ever die? No. In fact, it only apparently appeared to have died or gone away or dissipated or disappeared. It can apparently appear to do that. Sure it can. It could be thought to have occurred that way. That it was actually an actual occurrence. I could take a certain date and a certain time, and then I could record that, and I could tell that. That's part of my own story. I could tell my story that way. I can tell. Can you tell? Well, yeah, sure we can. We can express. That's what we're doing. We're doing here. We're telling stories. You have a story. I have a story. This body-mind action figure has one hell of a story, and I'm sure you might have one hell of a story as well. So when I say you, I'm pointing to the body-mind action figure that is using the ears, facilitating hearing, and also facilitating the sight, it's viewing, and then it's taking information, it's interpreting it, and then it's trying to put it together into a way of understanding what has been interpreted, and then this understanding kind of smooths out, and then it's stored as a memory. And so, okay, I understand what you're saying, and what you're saying is about this particular subject, and this is kind of your opinion maybe, or your take on it. What is your take on that? What is your take on this, that, or the other? Does any of this, that, and the other matter? See, then it gets back into the dualities and the doings and activities. It wants to keep itself busy. The subconscious self is busily engaged in business. The business of busily engaged in doings. And then it takes the doings and as it says about, then it begins to refer to the knowings. The doings and the knowings, the actions that are taken, that are believed to be taken 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which believes to be separate and unique. And I'm living a very particular life. You're living a very particular life of your own 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after that which you believe to be your own life that you're living. Am I living my own life? 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after myself? No, not necessarily. It appears that way, though. Well, since it appears that way, let's continue. No harm done, no harm, no foul. Now, what type of story do I, or would I, like to tell, or would I like to leave behind those that have been referred to as my family and friends? Friends are these body-mind action figures that apparently appear to be just as how I appear to be. So if I'm appearing to be and I'm just an appearance, I'm still fine with that. That's okay if it's that way. It's seemingly so. That's okay. That's all right. The new Advaitins settles in. It seems, apparently appears to stabilize on its own. The body-mind action figure doesn't have to do anything about its being a scene, its appearing, the manner by which it appears and manifests. It doesn't have to do anything about that. It doesn't. It doesn't have to do, see? It doesn't have to do anything. It does not need to take any particular actions. It doesn't need to go in a cave and spend 7 years in Tibet in the Himalayan mountains chanting Om. Chanting I'm not a body, I'm not a body. None of those things are necessary. Of course not. And these things, these ideas and concepts and actions that need to be taken. All I need to know about that. So once I know about it, then I could say that, you know what, I know about it now. Now I'm happy. What's the next thing to know? See? So what does it do? It seeks. It gets into this mode of seeking because it believes it needs to know about things and it needs to do something about what it knows. I'm going to do something about that. You know what? I'll remember that. I'm going to keep that in mind. Next time, that, or the other might happen. See, and then it basically starts mixing up all these activities and doings and actions it's going to take, and it seems to really find enjoyment in that. It's not trying to fill a void. It just apparently appears to be appearing as it does. It doesn't have any... It thinks it does. It thinks it believes that it has its own accord, volition, its free will, and then it believes that, well, and then it could speak in first person and say, you know what, I know what I'm talking about. And what I am talking about is that which is referred to Advaita Vedanta, but now it is referred to as Neo Advaita. Neo Advaita is taking the Sanskrit and then transliterating that into English. And so when that is translated into English, or any other language could be translated to, then what apparently appears to happen there? Well, then the story continues. And why does that story continue? Because it is believed to be. It's conjured. There's an idea, belief that, well, I need to be doing something, so this is what I'm going to do now. So then it starts trying to rationalize what it believes it's doing. It's just being. And it's just expressing, it's just being. But it's apparently appeared to be in some particular way. But no, let's not get into particulars. No, it only apparently appears like that, but it's not. That's not how it's permanently so. It's not permanently that way. So if everything is impermanent, but yet everything that appears impermanent can also appear as though it's permanent for an indeterminate duration in space and time. So that which is going on in space and time apparently appears to be something that's going on as permanently so. But it's not. It's impermanently so as well. It's both. It's both temporarily appearing as though it's permanent, but only for an indeterminate duration in space and time. Why is it seemingly so that way? Because it's also not so. See, not of space and time. What is not of space and time? And if this body, mind, action figure is going to say we, no, not we as the collective appearances of the body, mind, action figures, but we as the expression behind the appearance of the action figure. What's being expressed? The absolute Brahman. Yes, Brahman. The absolute is speaking and entertaining itself. Why? Well, for no reason. It's just doing it. Doesn't have to have a reason. Because it's all that is. It's absolutely everything. And nothing. And separately so and not so. And ad infinitum. It never had a beginning, it'll never have an end. It'll always appear to be perfect balance of absolutely everything that will ever appear. But is there something else going to appear in the future? See, that's the extraordinary beauty and the mystery. Well, how can that be? How can yesterday and today and tomorrow all apparently appear to be simultaneously happening all at once? How can that possibly be? All spaces, all times. Part of infinite tuning complexification. Just part of it. But it's still complete and whole, perfect. It's complete and whole. Just as it appears, just as it is. And then when a body, mind, action figure says something else, expresses, well, that's also Brahman. That's also the absolute expressing. Expressing what? As something else that apparently appears to be something else. So all these innumerable different, they appear to be different. When I see differences, these differences are what's referred to as a different body, mind, action figure appearance is still part of the collective. Now, is there any meaning, reason, or purpose behind any of that? No. But if we, when I say we, if those of us that have been referring to this agreement of being part of societal structure, and there's nothing right or wrong about it, just appears to be that way. Okay, so if we're on what is referred to as a grid, we pay taxes, pay bills, we go to a job, we earn money, part of the we're economically viable to some degree, and we're part of this system, systematically part of the system. Is it bad? Is it wrong? Is it like the Matrix where, oh no, I wish I could taste a steak again? None of those things matter. It's just appearing to be what apparent appears to be. So whatever is going to appear to be, it's going to be of its own accord and volition anyway. And what's that? That's Brahman. It's going to express however it's going to express. Is there any means to that to an end of how it's expressing? No. It's just expressing. It's like a light going on and off. Light goes on, doesn't really express anything, but then these forms that are referred to as forms, such as, let's say, a life form, when a life form such as a bird, so it begins to chirp at a certain time of the morning. Right now, it's 3:43 in the morning, London time, and see, there's a story. Right there is a story being told. Absolutely anything that's uttered in any language, to, by, for, from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after the body, mind, action figure that expresses that way in some particular language, it's just telling a story. Is it telling a story for any reason? Not necessarily. But I tell you what, it's going to come up with one, 2, 3, a whole bunch of reasons. It'll turn up and conjure. The self-conjured self is a storyteller. It's the narrator and storyteller of its own story, of what it believes to be its own story. It just has a story to tell, but doesn't mean it's any more special than any other body, mind, action figure that has its story to tell. They're just stories to tell, and so they're shared. That's all that apparently appears to be going on, really. That's all that apparently appears to be going on. Does it matter? No, not really. How am I going to spend the rest of this time that I've learned to be seconds, moments in time, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades? A few decades. How many? Maybe 7 or 8 decades is about average for the average body mind to appear as it does. However it appears to be appearing. So it's appearing as though it's a separate body mind action figure now. For an indeterminate duration, it's going to be appearing in space and time. Although it is not of space and time, it's going to continue to appear in a particular way. Now, that particular way that an action figure believes it is appearing is appearing as though it is separate. Now, if it begins to express and say, you know what, I've been living my life this particular way, I think I'm going to make a change now. Yeah, I think I'm going to take it upon myself. See, there is the language. The sense of separation. It's not bad. It's not a wrong thing. It's not something that should not have happened. And it's not. It neither is it something that should have happened. So it's neither. Neither it should have happened or not should have happened. Should or should not. Could have, would have, should have. No. Neither. But if it wants to spin its expressions that way, or if it wants to spin its own story that way, it's going to spin it or that particular way. It's going to be expressing in a particular way. But it's only apparently appearing to do that. Is it doing that of its own accord of volition? Well, it thinks it is. But it's just naturally expressing. Is it really naturally expressing? Well, it thinks it is. 2x4 from a pond with a 2x4 from a pond with about and around and before and after itself. It just believes it's existing in that particular mode or that particular type of reality. And so sometimes it might find blame. It might blame itself for certain things not turning out the way they want them to turn out. What do you mean certain things? What are those certain things that you want to turn out? See, you might want your life to turn out a particular way, and I might want my life to turn out a particular way. What do we refer to when we say turn out? Life's going to turn out? How does life have to turn out? Does it have to turn out to appear in some particular way? Well, yeah, it's going to. Is there a will to exert? Is there a free will to exert? If there is a free will to exert, man, exert it. If you believe you're exerting a free will and that's going to matter, well, keep doing it if it seems to be working. But how do you know that's working? What is working anyway? No, there's just life. Life is continuously running its course, or what apparently appears to be a course that's running. A flow, a natural flow of life. What is flow? Time could be construed as though it's flowing. Because one moment to the next, a second gone by, and then a collection of seconds or collection of moments is a minute. Just give me a minute. I need to think about that for a minute. No. I'll be back with you in a few minutes. No. So, minutes and then hours and all that sort of thing. A time flow, a continuum. Apparently appears to be that way. Life flowing. And then, what is the boat? Row the boat gently down the stream. What stream? Stream of life. What is the boat? The body, mind, action figure just appears. So row that boat gently down the stream. Does it have to be gently or can it be violently? Can I go into the boat and hope for a storm and then be traveling violently through that stream? Well, so to speak, the body, mind, action figure believes that it could go through trials and tribulations, that it could go through hard times, that it's going to go through a bit of suffering, this, that, or the other. See, all these stories that it conjures up and it says, well, it's happening to me. It matters to me, that's why I'm telling the story. Is it? That's the reason, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, see? Conjuring reasons. Reasons, meanings, and purposes for actions that a body, mind, action figure believes it is taking of its own accord, free will, choice, accord, volition. It's doing that. And it's doing that for meanings, reasons, and purposes of its own. That it believes of its own accord, volition, its own free will. I am going to say whatever I want to say when I want to say it, and it doesn't matter. I don't care what you think. I don't care what anybody else thinks. See? And then it could go in that direction as well, couldn't it? Oh, sure it can. You hear that kind of speech. Who hears it? The body, mind, action figure hears it. And then it starts conjuring the idea that, I'm by myself and I'm living my own life, so I might continue to be living my own life a particular way, this way, that way, or some other way. Seeing if it starts believing that. But it's going to go on and on that way, isn't it? But what is directing that? Is there a director? Is there a director behind all these actions that an action figure believes it is taking? It's not really taking anything. It's just appearing in a particular way. So once that is recognized, what apparently appears to happen? Kind of a traveling lighter, an easier way that apparently appears to be a way that life continuously appears to be flowing, but it's so difficult to put into words that peace that surpasses all understanding. Let's take that phrase. The peace that surpasses all understanding. What is that? That's Brahman. Yes, that is the absolute. And why does it apparently appear to be it? It feels so good. It's as though it's kind of an unconditional love that's so comforting when the truth is sought. What truth? The truth, the absolute. But we've always been mixing, coalescing, blending. Been mixing, coalescing, blending, immersed, full immersion. Never have been out of it. Out of what? Out of Brahman. And been with it all along, and you continue and will always be with Brahman, with the absolute. Always. There's no escape. Well, you don't have to. There doesn't have to be this feeling as though there's a need to escape. There's nowhere to escape to. And everything does not have to appear in a particular way. 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after anybody. No. Because that's not what's happening. What apparently appears to be thought to be happening is not. You know, there don't have to... Why? Because there don't have to be any happenings. Is there any reason, meaning, purpose why that apparently appears to be that way? No. Again, infinitesimal complexification, the absolute Brahman is absolutely everything that can ever be thought about, and that which cannot even be conceived. Unknowable. All of it's mixed together. There's that which can be known, it's knowable, and then there's that which is unknown, that cannot be known. It's unknowable. And so is there any meaning, reason, purpose why that there's these knowables and unknowables, and that there's only so much that one can know, and then, about to know, it doesn't matter. None of the knowings matter, it never did. Just as the doings don't matter. Well, I did this the other day. Can I tell you what I did the other day? I beat my record, by the way, on this video game I was playing the other day. Does that matter? Hell no. Does that matter? Is there a grand scheme? And you know, even this body mind action figure has said that many times. Well, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Well, what is the grand scheme of things? This body mind would love to hear another body mind action figure ask this body mind action figure that question. See, so it's a play, isn't it? It seems to be going on. And then, what is the puppet master? Oh, well, that could be that core self, that true self. And although there is no self, no, there isn't a real self, but then there's that energy field that calls itself a self. And so, it calls itself that because it's just conjuring it. It's just going along with it. So, both apparently appears to be happening. The body mind action figure is going along with what it believes it should be going along with, and so it does that. And then at the same time, there's the energy field that is one with, or coalescing, mixing, and recognizing it is with Brahman, and it surrenders that which is referring to the impermanent manifestation of the body, mind, action, figure. It's willingly admitting and saying, I don't have a will of my own. Thy will be done, not my will. And when you say thy will be done, not some great separate entity of a creator, and then it's causing all this manifestation and everything to appear as it does. Not like that. Because that cannot be known. It's unknowable. Brahman, all that is, the absolute, it's not knowable. It's not knowable 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after a body, mind, action, figure. No. That's unknowable. It'll always be unknowable. It can never be known. It can never be unknowable because it's not necessary. That's why. Well, does something have to be necessary before there's necessity behind it and then it can be expressed? And then, no. Not like that either. But you know what? None of these separate individual ways of expressing really matter, and there's no meaning, reason, purpose behind them. It's just chatter. It's just chatter about whatever it believes that matters. 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after itself. It's all about that. About. See, there it is. 2 by. Well, to me, this is the way. To me, this is the way it seemed to be. So it's just telling stories, and the Neo-Advaitins is telling the story as well. But it is taking that which was thought to be separate, and it was thought to be, and it appeared to have been conjured, and these conjurings, well, they're neither right or wrong, good or bad. They're just expressions. 2 by 4 from, about, with, upon, around, before and after a body, mind, action, figure that either believes and conjures the idea that it is separate from everybody and everything else and totally unique and has its own story to tell. It only knows, it knows about information that's about itself, and it says, you know what, I'm going to take a certain amount of information. I'm going to take that because it interests me. So if it interests me, when I call myself me, myself, and I, this particular body, mind, action figure that I believe is separate from everybody and everything else, but it's not. It can't go back to that way of life that it thought it was living. It can't do it anymore. It used to express that way. It tries. It says, well, I want to be the way it used to be. Why can't I be the same way I used to be before? Because you're already naturally being. You weren't being in a particular way. But you were appearing as though you were. See, you appeared as though you were living your own life. But then when it dawned on you, or when it was recognized, it was noticed, oh, wait a minute. I'm not living a life of my own. There's just life. And it's being lived. It's being lived through this body, mind, action, figure manifestation. Okay. Do I need to do anything about that? Of course not. You never did. Nobody. And besides, nobody could do anything about it anyway. See, that's the whole point. The whole point of what? Well, the point of this particular point that's being made. Regarding why does it seem as though there was and I cannot separate, I cannot pinpoint a certain date and time when all of a sudden it was just very subtle. It is as though a switch was flipped somewhere or somehow. And when that flip switched, when the switch was flipped somehow, in some way, cannot put my finger on it. You ever heard that expression? Sure you have. I cannot quite put my finger on it. What that means is I cannot quite go back to a certain point in space and time or a certain point of time and say at 2:24 in the afternoon on June the 16th, 2016. See, I can't narrow it down that way, but I could kind of sort of tell my story about that. What is my story? Everybody has a story to tell. And so, do you see and notice that right there? That's something else. That's something else that when a body mind action figure is expressing itself, it can go off in so many tangents. But you see, the tangents are innumerable. The directions that apparently appears that a subject can be discussed and talked about, discussed and shared. Does it matter? No. But you know what? A body mind action figure will gravitate towards that which it believes it is interesting. It's interesting and intriguing. Well, if the absolute and Brahman and absolutely everything is intriguing, life itself is intriguing, it's a mystery, it's extraordinary, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. Wow, it's beyond words. Beyond words. No words in any language could do justice to the Beatitudes and the beauty of the unconditional love of the Absolute, the Brahman, the truth. Even just saying it doesn't even seem to give it enough emphasis of its specialty. How special absolutely everything appears to be, so perfect and pristine. But on so many levels, it seems to be on so many different levels, because once there's this recognition of so much radiance of it just goes beyond words, beyond space and time, beyond all concepts, beyond knowledge, beyond knowing. It's being that's timeless. A timeless wonder indeed, Andreas Mueller, yes. And the body-mind action figure doesn't even have to try anymore. Well, what was it trying before? It was trying to be something that it was not. It was struggling, thinking that, man, I have to be this particular way. If I'm not, I don't want to disappoint my family. I don't want to disappoint my dad. I don't want to disappoint my mom. I don't want to disappoint my friends. I want to look important. I want to look special. I want somebody to care about me. I want somebody to care. Give a damn. You know? Is that so bad? No. Well, see, the body-mind action figure has wants and needs and desires like that. Oh, I want somebody to love me. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to live the rest of my life alone. You know, like that. Well, yeah, I can live alone. I don't mind. I have plenty of friends I go visit. I'm okay with that. Or, oh, you know, I wish I could meet somebody I could spend the rest of my life with. I want to marry them and have children with them. See, or all these other ways of thinking of that, the body-mind with its wants, needs, and it has wants and needs. Why? Why does it have them? Because it conjured them. It thought about it. It thought, well, you know, what do I want? What do I need? Well, I think I might need this, that, or the other, and so it gets involved with this, that, and the other. And then the longer that a parent appears to be living a life, okay, it's living a life, but it believes to be living a life of its own. No, it's not. No, it's just expressing, and life's expressing through it. There's no meaning, reason, purpose. Life expressing through it. It's just apparently appearing to be happening. No particular reason, meaning, purpose why everything apparently appears to happen, as it apparently appears to happen. It's going to apparently appear to happen regardless of what anybody believes or thinks about or believes that it knows. Everything is going to apparently appear to be the way it's going to be, no matter what. No matter what any particular body-mind action figure thinks about that. Because it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after, nobody. That's right. Nobody matters. They apparently appear to matter, though. And how do they apparently appear to matter? Well, the manifestation, as they appear humanly corporeal. Is that always going to be that way? No, that's not permanently so. Why? Because there's also that which is impermanently so. That's why. So there's permanently so and impermanently so. Is there permanently so and not so? Well, it's permanently so and not so, and impermanently so and not so, and both. I mean, it's all of it. All of it's combined. You can mix and match, so to speak, all these manifestations and call this, that, or the other this particular manifestation. I'm going to say, well, this is what's apparently appears to be happening there, here, or no, it's everywhereness. Everywhere is the everywhereness of isnessing of everywhere is another way of saying that is everything no thinging and no thing everythinging. It's another way of saying that. Wow, how far can you take that? You know, the body mind action figure says, wow, wait a minute, why am I talking this way? Why am I speaking this way? Because it's recognizing that there are innumerable ways to express. Always have been. And so that's how and why a story that's told can be told in one of innumerable ways. So many stories. It's just like the countenance of the stars in space. They're innumerable stars. They all cannot be counted. Well, the same for stories, and the same for the human corporeal form, and the same for all the various manifestations. And look at all the billions and billions of other, or what appear to be other. They're not of their own accord or volition, but they appear to be separate appearances of other types of life forms. And so we feel the need to label them. We feel the need to categorize them and call them something, so that there could be differentiations, there could be distinctions between this, that, and the other, so that the story can be told. What story? Well, the story of my own life. See, and it goes back to that again. But it's neither that. It's neither a story that has to be told, or a story that does not have to be told. So what? So there's a story being told. So what? Does it matter? No. See, it could go so far, couldn't it? And then it seems to kind of fade out in the distance, so to speak. So anything that's said, voice, heard, and then it stops. Where does it go? Nowhere. Where does anything go? Nowhere. Well, how is anything appearing to be something? Because it is both real and unreal. It's observable, but it's also unobservable. So the energy field, although it's not observable, what is observable? Its form. The energy field's energy form is visibly observable in mirrors for an indeterminate duration, temporarily, in space and time, yes. And the time could appear to be a long time. 70, 80 years can apparently appear as though as though that's a long duration of time and a long life to live. You know, that person over there, that body mind action figure, it lived up to about 80, 90 years. That's a full life, so to speak. So it could be stated that way, that a body mind action figure is fortunate to have lived, if it has lived or believed to have lived life for 70, 80 years. It seems to matter that way, collectively. 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after, that which refers to itself, that which refers 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after itself. It refers to a life that was lived. But it's thought to have lived its own life. Now, it's either going to continue to do that or not continue to do that. Neither matters. Even if there's enlightenment, even if there's a recognition that, oh yeah, I've always been enlightened. There wasn't a certain point where I was going to become enlightened, or that I had to learn certain things before I say, oh, okay, now I know I'm enlightened. No, nobody has to know that. If that which is expressing as humanly corporeal for an indeterminate duration of space and time begins stating certain statements and expressing, it's going to express based on what? Based on that which it believes. Is that it? Is that the only way that a body mind action figure is going to express? Based on only that which it believes? Its own beliefs? No. It's going to go well further than that, and then it's going to either recognize and notice that, okay, there's the absolute, everything and nothing, separately so, not so, that's it. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to mess with that. See, when it begins to think in terms of surrender, see, like that way, surrendering, to say, you know what, I know I'm not living my own life anymore. I don't have my own life to live anymore. I never did, that's why. So if I never had my own life to live, what was going on? What was apparently appearing to be happening? Oh, that was conjured was apparently appearing to be happening. Meanwhile, what? Meanwhile, everything was already laid out. And always this. It's always this. This overrides anything else that's conjured 2x4 from about, with, upon, around, before, and after. The body, mind, action figure that believes it's totally unique and separate from everybody and everything else. There is no separation. There is no separation. Nothing stands alone. No thing. There is no separate thing that stands alone of its own accord and volition. There is just the appearance of what is. There's not even experiencing. See, even to say that, oh, well, I experienced this, that, or the other. I had my own experience. Can I share the experience that I had? Maybe you had a similar experience, perhaps. Yeah, but that's not what life's all about. Life is not all about personal experiences. Life is neither personal, not exclusively personal, or impersonal. It's both. The life that can be lived. Is life lived? Well, life is living through. It's living. It's not a final lived. Okay, well, that lived over there, and then it died, and that was it. It had a beginning and an end. No. See, that's a story that's conjured right there. Because time is irrelevant. Absolutely everything is timeless. There's no seized single moment that you could say, you know, I just lived that. I lived my life for a while, and I know when I die, that's the end, and that's it. I will no longer exist anymore. No. You're always existing. See, everything's ing, activity. Yes, activity, the actioning of absolutely everything. Everything is as the birth name and birthright of the new Advaitin, Paul Hederman, states regarding the verbing. Verbing. So that's a way of grammatically saying or explaining that which is the absolute, is Brahman. No beginning, no end, the Alpha and Omega. Always, 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 always. Innumerable ways. That which are knowable ways, that which are unknowable ways. Just extraordinary. It's just amazing. And it's fine. That's great. Let it be however it's going to be. Yeah, wow. Telling you, the peace that surpasses all understanding, right there. That is the peace that surpasses all understanding. That's why it's unknowable. It can't be understood. It doesn't have to be understood. So why are you bothering to try to conjure up all these ideas, these theories of everything? Is that a waste of time? It could be construed that way. Are you wasting your life? Are you wasting your time doing this, that, or the other? No. Time cannot be wasted. Time can seemingly be wasted. Time can seemingly be spent. Giving time too much credence. But that's just what apparently appears to be the case, though. What apparently appears to be the case? Well, that there's time. And that time is mattering. Time matters. What are you doing with the time that you have left of your life? Do you have a bucket list and this, that, and the other? No. All of those things never matter. They don't. They're conjured. Why? Because of that importance, that self-importance that self-conjured self is feeling. The conjured self feels important to some degree. And because it believes that. And it has learned it. It's not a right or wrong. It just apparently appears to be what occurred. If it's going to be apparently appearing to be occurring in space and time, and although we're not of it, still going to notice that story. And duration of time within about 18 months. Not 18 months. Is it 18 months? Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's about 18 months, almost 2 years. When the... So you want to say when, in space and time, when a particular body-mind action figure begins to self-identify with that self that it believes is separate from everybody and everything else. There's that core self, the energy field, it's manifesting. But why? Why is it doing that? Is it doing that? No, it's just being. It's just emanating. It just expresses in a natural way. How is it natural? Effortless. And so, we're going to apparently appear to compare and express as the Neo Advaitins have expressing, since this is simply another YouTube presentation. Take your pick. There's so many different ones, and there always will be, and then the counting is going to continue to be all these various manifestations that are appearing, and it apparently appears to be a body-mind action figure that's engaged in various activities. So if it feels it's engaged in activities, fine. Does it matter? Not really, no. It may matter 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after. That which is thinking about something that it believes it needs to be doing. So if it believes it has a will, then exert it. See where that gets you. Is that going to get you anywhere in particular? Well, it's good for now. I'll settle for it. Settle for what? Well, settle for whatever happens. Well, how bad can it get? And how good can it get? Can it always be a certain way? All the time? No. I accept the fact that everything is going to continue to change. Who's accepting that? Well, a body-mind can accept that or deny it, or not. It could go in so many innumerable ways. But that recognition that the absolute Brahman has always been the way that absolutely everything appears perfect, whole, complete, perfect balance, absolutely everything and no thing, inseparably so and not so, ad infinitum. Enough's enough. Is there enough of anything that that someone believes it is doing? If it believes it has done enough, has it done enough in its own life that it believes it's living? See? It's going to go on and on that way. It's going to continue to conjure. The conjured self continues to conjure all manners of doings and knowings because it lives in that type of reality. It believes it's living in that type of reality, so it upholds it. It upholds it, and then it emphasizes it, and it continues to express it in some particular way that it believes it is expressing. It believes it's expressing of its own accord and volition a particular way. So, well, I know the way that I am. Yeah, I'm this way, and I'll tell you why. Because I have meanings, reasons, purposes that I apply to my own life. Yeah, because I'm living my own life. I believe that. I believe I'm living my own life, and I'm sure you must be living your own life too. And does it matter? Not really, but it's just making conversation. Yeah, it's just making conversation. It's just like what goes on day in and day out, every single freaking minute, 24/7 on Facebook. Facebook, there is the self-conjured self that says, look at me, takes a selfie, and there it is. So, okay, well, yeah, this is my family, these are my friends. The friends that I have made, that I believe I have made, are acquaintances. These acquaintances are as friends, and then I've known about them for a certain amount of time and for quite a bit of time. And the longer that time goes by, then I believe that that friend has extended their friendship with me to a certain degree, depending upon if I'm able to spend time with them. In these times right now, with this so-called pandemic, and yes, refer to a pandemic that is global, it's worldwide, and the body mind action figure cannot help but talk about it because it apparently appears to be what's going on. So here we are, the 5th of April 2020. There are people staying home, working from home if they can, which is possible, and they're self-isolating. And this phrase, self-isolation, has become a common phrase because of what is referred to as a coronavirus, a virus that began in China and is spread throughout the world now and is taking many lives. It's a respiratory type of a flu type virus. It's a very strong strain. And if someone has a relatively strong immunity, they could survive it. It's not just killing out absolutely everybody, and just there's just so much randomness. You can't really pinpoint, you can't narrow it down because of the randomness of how everything apparently appears to happen. It's not happening in some particular way. There's no path that life takes. Life doesn't take a particular path. It is all paths. Life is all paths. Brahman and the Absolute are absolutely all paths. Always, always. So however anything is going to appear as it does, it's a period of its own accord and relation. Brahman, yes. The Absolute, it's going to appear however it's going to appear. Nobody could do anything about that. Nobody has to do anything about that. Nobody has to do anything about nothing. This, that, the other. All the dualities. All the conjurings that the self conjures up. The conjure self will always conjure the idea that I need to be doing something and I need to know that I'm doing something worthwhile. I need to be doing something worthwhile, see? And it just keeps going that way. But at the same time, not of space and time, but although at the same time in space and time, it's going to notice and recognize, okay, I'm not that's manifesting as it's appearing, although I'm not that exclusively that manifestation. I recognize now that I'm with the Absolute. I've been mixing, coalescing all along. And I'm going to let that be. I'm not going to think any particular way about that. Just going to let it be the way. And however Brahma's going to appear, and then recognize that. And then that peace that surpasses all understanding. I, as a body mind action figure, cannot tell you how that could come about. No. It just it's somehow been that way all along. Meanwhile, amidst all the conjuring of the subconjured self, everything has always been this ordinariness. And it's boring. It's boring to the self-conjured self. The self-conjured self. The conjured self is bored easily. It becomes bored. It believes it's becoming bored because it believes it needs to be doing something exciting, something interesting. I need to be doing something exciting to spend my life or spend time. If I have all this extra time now that there's self-isolation going on, what can I do? Can I do something worthwhile? See, it's in the doing. And then What do I know about what I'm doing? Well, maybe I want to seek. Maybe I want to look into this new Advaita, this non-duality thing. This guy told me about the other day. Yeah, he said he had a channel in YouTube. Yeah, maybe I'll spend some time looking into that. Find out what that's all about. Seems kind of interesting. It definitely seems unique. Doesn't appear to be something that the average person's talking about. The average person in society. This is an extremely rare message. It's so extreme that there will always be a person that believes they're a single person in society that has been so caught up in doings and knowings that it overlooked the obvious. It continued to overlook it. It actually blinded itself from it, from the absolute, and from everything that continues to go on as it does of its own accord volition. The absolute and Brahman, and it overlooked it by conjuring this idea that it had to seek a particular way of being, a particular life, and it always looked to all these techniques and teachings and various ways that, oh well, there must be some other path to enlightenment, and so that I could be an enlightened one or enlightened being, and then I could progress into the next levels of existence. I don't know. Nobody knows what it's going to be like. But yet we still continue to conjure, don't we? Yes, we conjure the idea that, hey, maybe it might be this way, that way, or some other way. All these conjurings of different levels of achievement and beingness, and it's even mentioned in the Gitas and the Upanishads, these books that have been written and been put together, and yes, that too is conjured. Just because something's conjured doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just recognized as something else that's conjured. So what else is conjured? And everything that continues to be conjured, there's something else that apparently appears to be newly conjured. A new appearance of something. Does that appear to, yeah, well, it appears to be new, like into a newborn. You know, there's a newborn baby. Well, there's newborns of all kinds of life forms, animals as well. So many different species. Cats, dogs, squirrels, monkeys. All these different identifications of different appearing animals and life forms. They have beginnings of what they believe, or do they believe that? These births? These animals are just simply expressing and existing, and they don't have this, all of these ideas that they conjure up. They don't have to. They're just simply being, peacefully being, and appearing to be. Peacefully. And in nature, they're not harmed. Just as a bird, it chirps. That's all it knows, just to chirp. It's just chirping. It's just being a bird. A human being can be just simply be a human as well. And so, any subject that is brought up can be discussed and talked about. Does it matter? No. Do I need to be engaged in conversation with somebody else? Well, I could. Does it matter? Well, not necessarily. I could talk to other people, or I could just keep to myself and keep doing these presentations. See, so the body-mind action figure that continues to think in terms of, well, I need to be doing something, so I may as well do this, that, or the other. Am I choosing to do this, that, or the other? In a sense, it feels as though that's what's happening. Seemingly so. This body-mind action figure thinks that it's making a choice and deciding, and that it has opinions about this, that, or the other. And so it continues these activities and continues to be engaged in these various activities. 2x4 from about, with, upon, around, before, and after itself. So, it's alright. It's both so and not so. It doesn't matter. Inseparably so and not so. Anything that apparently appears to be going on. Blah, 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 yeah?
Is it its own little topic, yeah, or actually duality. So that's why when I do a lot of live stuff, we don't usually have many questions, and the question and answer period's like 3 minutes, and then shuts off. Yes, can't hear me? Hey, honey, they can't. Mike, they can't hear. Honey, Mike.
Is that what?
Maybe it's you. Can you hear me, Andrew? No. Anyone else can hear me?
You muted. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know when else I mute all. Oh, I know why.
Oh wait, hold on. You muted me.
Yeah, I guess because can they hear you now?
Notice what's going on with the technology now. We have these various types of programs that could be used online these days. What is one of them called? I'm trying to remember what that's called. Well, of course, there's Skype, but there's these other programs where you can have multiple videos, video stations, multiple cams, multiple workstations, or multiple home PCs that are going on this network, and which is very similar to Skype, except you can add other users, and then you can have a whole group. It's similar to conferencing, whereby you can have so many orchestrated, of course, as individuals. You have different people that have different PCs, and they have their own personal home computers in their homes, and they have a camera, and they use a certain program, and kind of set up in various ways. But it's the same as any other organized, it's seemingly organized satsang, where you have a group of people that are together. Now, when I say group of people, body, mind, action figures get together and then have a conversation. But when the satsang in this type of setup right here, this is to start the questionnaire. That's why there's so few questions, and that's the reason why this birth name or birthright of Paul Hederman had this new Advaitin, this particular new Advaitin, mentioned that. Oh, there's other new Advaitins. There's Jim Newman, there's Tony Parsons, there's Richard Sylvester. And I'm not going to mention all the others. So there's Andreas Mueller, and you could drop all these different names. They're just birth names and birthrights. That's it. And they're just different forms of human expression. Just as this body mind is, it's just another expression. But it apparently appears to be a different expression, doesn't it? The differentiations are obvious. Does it matter? No. Is one particular Neo-Advaitin better than another? No. They're just all expressing, they're sharing the same message, but in various ways. It's just part of all ways. Just part of all the other ways that are immeasurable. The countenance of all the different ways the Neo-Advaitin can express are innumerable. They are, and it will always be like that, because that apparently appears to be the content of the Absolute. What is the content of the Absolute? Absolutely everything and nothing is apparently so and not so ad infinitum. There's one way of saying it. One way of saying that. So many different ways to express statements. Sure, and so many different languages as well. So, yeah, it's just expressing. So we're expressing this way. The new Advaitin is going to express what? That which is found in the Gitas, that which is found in the Upanishads, any type of activity that's possible that a body mind action figure can appear to be engaged in, it is in the Gitas, it is in the Upanishads. It's mentioned about the absolutes, the Brahman, and read for yourself. You can. You can read for yourself. Sure you can. A body mind action figure could read 2x4 from about, with, upon, around, before, and after itself. Sure it can. And when it reads various books, teachings, whatever you want to call them, information, that's all it is. It's just information. So it finds it interesting. What does it find interesting? Well, of course, the absolute. Life. Life itself. Wow. What other subject can you think of that's any more intriguing than that? Than life itself? Well, so many different approaches to speak of that. But anyway, we of course, that are referring to the Neo-Advaitin movement, so to speak, are involved in something that seems to be interesting. But what's really interesting about what's interesting behind that is the extraordinariness of it, of how it appears to be applicable to absolutely everyone. So it's everybody. Nobody's left out. Nobody's singled out. Everybody's included. Nobody's excluded out of this. Everybody's included. That's why it's such an extraordinary topic. You could refer to it as that. Non-duality, non-dualism. One without a second. And then it's referring to what? Well, the empty fullness of absolutely everything and nothingness is separately so and not so ad infinitum.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I just shared the secret handshake.
I heard it.
You heard it? Good, good. Well,
Oh,
but
I'm going to mute all and then I'll unmute you. Okay?
all right.
Just 1 second. Okay, now everyone's muted except you.
All right, so, hello there. Once I do some new shirts, you'll get a shirt. Can you see me, Jerry?
Yes, talk.
Oh,
Hey, can you
good.
see me?
Oh, good, yeah. I can see you and hear you.
I had Paul's, I had wrote my wife's name by accident.
No, I see you. I see both of you. Yeah. Nice to see you. Good. We're not making any new shirts lately, so.
When you get a chance,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have the wrong size.
I know. We're gonna.
If you have an extra expense, let me know.
I gotta wait for the demand to build and then the supply. I can't. I'm not going on any trips, so I don't know if I can sell through Zoom.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it's
All
called.
right. Well, let's.
That's what it's
You want to
called.
start now, Mike? You want to start?
Okay. That's that program that you can use. I'm not sure if it's free. I need to look into that. That seems to be something that groups that form get together and have members, and there's a membership going on, and is there anything wrong with groups? No. You hear some speakers that say, "Oh, yeah, there's this groups, the me or the I, they like groups." It's as though it's a bad thing to say, "Oh, well, I'm isolating myself on purpose. I'm separating myself because I'm into separation. Oh, but it's a bad thing. I shouldn't. This new advice is telling me I should not be thinking that way because it's wrong to think like that. That separation is a good thing. To be turning unique and separate from everybody and everything else, as though that's a good thing. No. Neither is it a good thing or a bad thing. It doesn't matter either way. It really doesn't. Either it's recognized or it's not. Either way, it doesn't matter. But yet we speak of it. Sure. Because it apparently appears to be what's going on. And so, a body-mind action figure is going to question until it's starved, until it can no longer conjure up any questions to ask. What kind of answer is it after? It's after some type of answer. It has, otherwise it wouldn't even bother to have a question. The questions that a body mind action figure believes that it has is questioning the absolute. It's questioning this. It's questioning life. Why is everything appear to be this way? And then the answer is simple. Nobody knows. There's no meaning, reason, purpose behind empty fullness. Absolutely everything and no thing is inseparably so, not so, ad infinitum to appear, as absolutely everything does. But you know, everything doesn't have to be labeled as something. That was learned, yeah, so. Yeah, it was learned. Okay. Well, what next? Does that matter? So it goes on and on and on that way. So, it's either going to do or no. It's either going to be doing and knowing. All the while, it's just simply being. That's the default position. The default position is the being is seen. The default position is just simply appearing. Okay? Do you have to do anything about the appearing? No. Do you have to know anything about it? No. Just appearing, manifesting. Appearing in various ways. But you're not ever going to appear in a particular way. No. Not in a particular, unique, special, permanent way. No. Nothing separately, permanently unique and special of its own accord and volition. No. It's always change. It's always always. That's why and how it is always. Because it's always changing. Everything apparently appears to be continue to change. And you know what? At the same time, there is no change at all. Everything's already laid out. The appearance of change is finiteness, yes. The absolute can appear as though there's finiteness that changes. The changes in space and time. But in space and time, can these changes apparently appear to appear? They don't appear outside of space and time because they don't have to. Because it's already the energy fields that are manifesting various innumerable appearances of everything and no thing is separately so, not so. That's fine. Doesn't have to be in any particular way. Doesn't have to appear finitely in some particular way. But that's extraordinary right there. That alone, the appearance of something that appears as though it's something separate, but it's not, appears in space and time for indeterminate duration, and then it disappears. But then it reappears as though it's appearing somewhere else. So it's likened to a firefly. Firefly blinks a light of its abdomen and fluorescence. You can see it out in the field, in the distance, fireflies, and it seems as though at different points that's showing up and appearing, and appears like that way. That type of randomness, that cannot be pinpointed. Oh, but the astrophysicist wants to know about that and wants to figure that out. I'll leave it alone. Just let it be. Why can't you just appreciate it? You don't have to appreciate it and then not look into it and try to theorize about it, but neither is necessary. But you know what? Just recognize you don't have to. You don't have to theorize everything. And besides, everything cannot be theorized. Nobody can. I can come up with equations, and I can tell you about the little c consciousness and the big c consciousness, and I can come up with I've come up with a big theory of everything. I know the way things appear to be, and I know that there's an Akashic record, or there's a certain reality frame that a body mind action figure can go and visit, and historical database. There's a historical database that a body mind action figure can go and visit, and then re-experience a life that it used to live, and all this sort of thing. Why are you conjuring all these conjurings this way? it doesn't really matter, but hey, it's selling books. It's giving that body, mind, action figures something to do, and so it's doing that. So, yeah. So body, mind, action figures, various ones are doing, they appear to be doing. But they're not. They're appearing, yeah. They're being. Fine. It's just part of the content of the absolute, yeah. Everything, and then it's expressing, and that goes on and on and on that way. No meaning, reason, purpose behind any of it. Doesn't have to be. Just let it be however it's going to be. It's fine. So it unfolds. So we get on with it. Yeah? Yes. So, let's do that then. Yeah? Shall we? Let's get on with it.
Well, that was my wife. She's
Yes, hey, how are you, honey?
Everything's
How
good.
are you? Love you.
Good, good. Yeah, all right. So let's start with any question. Anyone have one? Alberto?
Hi, Paul.
Yes.
I didn't raise my hand. I don't really have any questions, but while you're asked, I just wanted to say hi. I'm in Barcelona.
Nice to see you, yes.
Remember me?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the situation is a bit dramatic here, but since I'm on house arrests,
Yeah.
I participate. Get a little bit, get slapped another time.
Yes, yeah. My pleasure, yeah. This is a sadomasochist Zoom. We're all refusing to get it, and you just gotta keep getting slapped.
Actually, maybe just one little thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Bitch slap.
Let's make a concession to language, but you know what I mean. I understood everything. I got it, right? I got it. I don't really have questions. The only thing is that it seems to me that in order for the remembrance to occur, I guess my question is, what do you do? What do you do, like in your experience, when you realize that you get lost with the action figure?
Well, I see I'm not that which got lost, really.
Okay, but that's like a revelation that you have.
Well, it's a revelation until it becomes sort of standardized, because whenever there's like a ping, and then there's someone that shows up, it's not you. So after about maybe 100 pings, you don't need to keep saying it's not you on the 500 ping, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
So what one could say that.
See, I don't believe anyone gets lost in selfing. I believe the mental state gets lost in selfing, but I don't believe that we're the mental state. Yeah? So it's not like I'm denying that the experience or this feeling is you're lost. I'm denying it from you're not that feels it's lost. Yeah?
Oh. Did you catch that? When we're referring to we as energy form, human corporeal manifestations, that type of we recognize, as we could refer to ourselves or these groups that we're forming here of the Neo-Advaitins, that we're recognizing there's this recognition that we're not that which appears as human and corporeal. We're recognizing that we're in space and time, but we're not of it. We're recognizing that we're energy fields and that we're with Brahman, we're with the Absolute, in all spaces and in all times, always. But there's no meaning, reason, purpose behind it all. It doesn't all matter. Now, traveling lightly, as this particular body, mind, action figure Paul Ederman refers to, traveling lightly over that which appeared to be self-identified as a terminally unique individual person that had a life of its own, that was living, and it was apparent, or it was appearing a particular as a particular character, and that it went based on its birth name and birthright, and it talked all about people and that kind of thing, and positions, and various dualities like that. None of those dualities matter. No, there's this type of a unification. This unification as the absolute at all times, in all spaces, and all times, underneath what apparently appears to be. Now, it doesn't even have to be thought about. So there's this nobody is separately thinking about anything in particular that really matters, because all matters that are thought to matter are just believed to be mattering. The matters of what matters, or the matterings, in other words, what matters to one body, mind, action, figure may not matter to another, but neither of these matters that are thought to be mattering matter. They do not. They do not matter. Oh man, it sounds like the cat in the hat type of thing, doesn't it? The cat in the hat. Oh man. Dr. Seuss on the loose. Jeez. But you see, that's the paradoxical type of thing that apparently appears to be going on with the non-dualism, because there's duality and then there's non-duality, but neither are exclusively so. There's not just duality and that's it, and then there's all these other dualities, and there's not just non-duality or one without a second and no separation. But that's emphasizing, in a sense, in a way, to say that one without a second simply means unification, or the coalescing and mixing and constant, continuous, no beginning, no end actioning of the enlivening nature of absolutely all appearances of everything. There's just, the countenance is so great you can't even put it into words. It can't be explained. The body, mind, action figure makes every effort, it attempts, it tries to think of a way to encapsulate the absolute. The absolute doesn't need to be encapsulated. It just simply is the way that it is. It doesn't have to have a meaning, reason, purpose behind it to be both so and not so. Everything and nothing is separately so and not so, ad infinitum. That doesn't have to have a meaning, reason, purpose behind it. Because it's its own meaning, reason, purpose. Any meaning, reason, purpose that can be conjured 2x4 from, about, with, upon, around, before, and after a self-conjured conjured self. It's all included. Nobody's singled out, nothing's left out.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't see, people want to not feel they're lost. Yeah? People want to never have another judgment again. They're going to be waiting a long, long time. Judgments occurs, feelings of being lost and found, connected, disconnected, they all arise, yeah? Almost like a constant mental ticker tape parade, yes? Always, always. But it's what's being subtly or really crudely implied is it's you that's lost. It's you that's disconnected. That's where I don't see that to be so. Yeah. So what they're saying is there's a feeling of whatever that would. What do you feel? What's feeling lost feel like anyway? You know what I mean? It's just an idea, but the idea. So, and that one who feels lost obviously doesn't want to feel lost. Yeah, but if you're not that you that doesn't want to feel lost, you may be found in the losing. Yes. Yeah. There's all new possibilities show up when it's not you lost.